Hosted by the Millington family, me and Jet are spending the night at the Chetton Heritage Museum near Bridgnorth. This Harrier Jump Jet is just one of the many exhibits dating back to the First World War, and we get to camp under its port wing. This hangar's no ordinary campsite. The Harrier behind me is a privately owned example, lovingly preserved by Roy and Julian Millington. Once, however, it could take off vertically, hover mid-air and land where no other fast jet even dared. The Harrier began life in the 1950s, the brainchild of British engineer Sir Stanley Hooker and his team at Hawker Siddeley. They developed the Pegasus engine, capable of directing thrust through 4 swivelling nozzles, allowing vertical takeoff and hover. The Harrier wasn't just a new aircraft, it was a completely different way of thinking about flight. No runways or catapults required, vertical takeoff and landing, delivered by powerful thrust and control. In 1982, the Harrier's reputation was put to the ultimate test. When Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, Britain faced a challenge. 8,000 miles away, with no nearby airfields. The solution? Harriers flying from aircraft carriers. The Sea Harriers of 800 and 801 Naval Air Squadrons defended the fleet day and night, claiming over 20 air-to-air kills with no losses during dogfights. The combination of the Harrier's agility and the pilot's skill proved to be decisive. This was the moment the world realised the Harrier wasn't just a clever experiment, it had become a combat-proven legend. Meanwhile, the Snatch Land Rover here served a different kind of mission. peacekeeping and patrols in Northern Ireland, Iraq and Afghanistan. Its nickname comes from its use in snatch and grab operations. Like the Harrier, it represents adaptability, and in the Snatch's case, the limits of it too. Now then, I've assembled a range of different lamps and torches. Luckily, 2 of them from workhorse.com arrived just in time for this mission. I'm going to try and be creative. I'm setting the lights out with a loose plan in mind, and I have no idea how it's going to work out. I'm aiming for something dramatic, a little bit military tattoo style. Let me know in the comments if you think I nailed it. It's humbling to sleep beside these machines. Echoes of history that once roared with life. The Harrier taught us that ingenuity can rewrite the rules of flight, and the Land Rover reminds us that resilience comes in many forms. Before I leave, there's time to have a look around the museum itself. A treasure trove of history. Inside are artefacts from both world wars, uniforms, medals, letters home, and pieces of machinery that tell stories of courage and loss. This place keeps local history alive. These aren't just objects, they belong to people from this very community. It's easy to look at the Harrier and see technology, but behind every machine are the hands, the hearts, and the sacrifices of people who made them fly. Pause the video here to read about this wedding ring, recovered from Brownclea Hill.
that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
In 2010, after decades of service, the RAF Harriers were retired. Budget cuts and new priorities meant the end of the aircraft that had once defined British air power. Ironically, its US cousin, the AV-8B Harrier II, still flies with the US Marine Corps. It's strange, the Harrier could do things that no other aircraft could, but sometimes progress isn't about being the best, it's about being new. If you enjoyed the mix of camping and history, make sure to subscribe. I've got plenty more stories like this waiting to be told.